else want to go?
Go ahead.
Sure, you just brought up hookup culture. So who do you think controls hookup culture? Like, who sets the tone for it? Men or women?
Women.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, because women control access to sex.
Right, they're the gatekeepers of sex, but don't you think guys kind of like lie and manipulate women? Like, I think a lot of women want relationships, but a lot of guys want casual sex. So don't you think like the nature of modern courting is that guys will wine and dine girls, and then the girls are kind of like rizz them up and lead them on to believe like they do want a relationship? So
Sure.
don't you think guys are the ones who kind of carry the weight of hookup culture just by the nature of modern courting?
Well, I definitely think that there are certainly men out there that are going to misrepresent what they want. They're going to say, I want a relationship, blah, 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 and then they hook up with a girl once and then never talk to her again. I think that's wrong. I think you ought to be, men to some degree play a role, but you have to ask yourself what percentage of men are playing that game. And it's a small subset of men. And I think this also plays into, and it's one of the reasons why I asked the question, well, what do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? And this is why I give the pushback if a girl, for example, who, at least in my view, isn't a 10, but she considers herself a 10. Women need to be realistic, because women do need to be careful about men who are not being
misrepresenting,
because what happens is you have men who are more than prepared to sleep with a girl who is less attractive than them. So men will sleep with women of a certain attractiveness level that they would never commit to, just based off purely their physical appearance. Because men, not all men, but a fair amount of men, will sleep with women that are less attractive than them because they welcome the easy access to sex.
That's interesting. I've actually heard the opposite from the red pill community, that like you should like fuck the 9s and 10s, but you should date the 6 and 7s because they're way less likely to be narcissistic, way less likely to cheat, way less likely to advertise themselves on Instagram.
No, I'm with Brian on this one. I think that men will do that. They have much lower standards for who they will sleep with versus who they will get into committed relationships with.
Based off physical attractiveness?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. And
among other things.
Yeah, and the difference is, generally speaking, I would say, in order for a woman to sleep with a guy, if we're speaking just off of physical attractiveness, for a woman to sleep with a guy, he needs to be at least physically attractive enough for her to consider being in a relationship with him. Now, the same typically isn't the case for men. Men will sleep with women of, say, a lower physical attractiveness, but they would never be in a long-term committed relationship with them. So I guess where I'm trying to draw this back to the ratings system, if women don't have a reasonable self-assessment of their own physical attractiveness,
they're more likely to be deceived, kind of.
Well, because women can fairly easily sleep with men that are more physically attractive than them. But not only more physically attractive than them, women can very easily sleep with men who have more status than them, who are have better personalities than them, who have more money than them. And so relating this back to, I guess, your original question, and why it's important for women to have a reasonable self-assessment of their own physical attractiveness. Sorry, I'm losing
I see what
my
you're
train.
saying. So like if the girl thinks she's a 10 but she's a 5, and then the guy she's dating is like, yeah, I want to date you, but it'd be easier to parse through whether he's lying or not if you have like an accurate assessment of your own looks.
If you know where you stand, then because you might be chasing after like a certain tier of man with the hope of locking him down for a relationship, even though that's very low likelihood or impossible because he's just so physically attractive. And women have sexual access to these like really attractive men that, again, will never commit to them. And so if they have a delusional self-assessment of their own physical attractiveness, then they're going to think, I deserve that guy. But the guy who would actually be prepared to commit to them, they overlook him and think, well, they think they're settling for the guy who's actually their looks equivalent who's actually on their level, but they view it, they're going to view it as I'm settling. So, yeah.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah. And